What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to yet another DiabloCast, your Diablo 3 podcast. Here, as always, we keep you up to date on everything going on in the Diablo 3 universe. As always, I'm your host, Dennis Force Duhamel, and with me, as always, we've got Kevin Sixen Carlino. Kevin, how are you this week?
Oh, just exhausted from sitting here watching all this Diablo 3 footage, of course.
Yeah, there's been a lot, and there's certainly a lot to talk about. And if you don't already know, if you've been living under a rock for the past week, the Friends and Family Beta has started, and that's going to be pretty much one of our major topics and what we'll be talking about mostly throughout this podcast. In addition to that, we will be making mention of the music in Diablo 3. We'll also be talking about the recent patch for the beta that did go through, and then the latest article posted by Blizzard discussing the Nephilim Cube and the Cauldron of Jordan. So with that said, let's go ahead and jump right into our first topic, which is going to be the beta client leak that took place last week. Alright, so last week before the Friends and Family Beta actually officially started, there was a little bit of a, I don't know if we want to call it a mishap, but there was a leak for the actual beta client. Now, this was basically just allowing you to get the downloader and get the client itself. That doesn't mean that you had access to the beta. And it was funny because, I had a lot of questions from people. Everyone was wondering, hey, I downloaded the client, Force. Why can't I play the beta now? Well, yes, the client itself got leaked and you could download and everything like that, but your account needs access to the beta and the servers had to go up before anyone could do it. But it was pretty comical. I don't know if you had any of that as well, Kevin, but I definitely got a lot of people that were all like, hey, Force, why can't I play the betas?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've not only on Diablo fans and IRC and personally, but I mean, I saw a lot of questions on the forums and whatnot. Just people wondering why, like, what the dealio was because, hey, I just downloaded the client. And on the other end of the spectrum, I saw people saying, well, this isn't a legit client. I don't want to get a virus or a Trojan and whatnot. So, I mean, it's understandable because it technically wasn't Blizzard's address. It was EdgeSuit or whatever. It's just their content provider, I guess, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, I mean, the client itself did come from the Blizzard servers. It was legit. It was nothing that was hacked, and it was leaked. But there's actually, oddly enough, people there were numerous people saying like, hey, this maybe this was done by Blizzard. Maybe this was an attempt to kind of hype things up. Any thoughts on that? You think that's even possible or something that they would do?
I don't really think so. I mean, I don't know. Blizzard, I don't think that they would need to leak it or to do anything to get that kind of publicity. Right. I mean, obviously that's what they would be shooting for. So I don't really think so. I mean, Blizzard, they already know that a lot of people were waiting for the beta. They already know that there was a lot of publicity and a lot of hype behind it. I don't feel like they need to do that for any extra hype. I guess it's possible, but I don't see it really being plausible.
Yeah, I mean, anything's certainly possible, but I don't know if that's something that they would actually do. I mean, intentionally. I don't see. There is obvious benefit to it. There's the obvious hype that comes from something like that. But as you said, is it really necessary? Is it something that they necessarily would have done on purpose? Nothing that we will ever know. Nothing that we'll get a blue response from at any point. But it's just something to ponder again as we wait for the release of the game. Now, this was pretty short-lived. There was a lot of excitement behind this, but it wasn't really. It didn't go on for too long, and that's mainly because something much more exciting happened. We got the start of the Friends and Family Beta, and that was certainly absolutely riveting for a lot of people and soul-crushing for the ones who didn't get in. The Friends and Family Beta, if you're not familiar with it, this is something that Blizzard pretty much typically always does, right, Kevin? Before they do the typical closed beta, it's always Friends and Family first, isn't it?
Yep, that's correct. In previous games and titles, they've done Friends and Family Alpha, and they had an NDA on it, a non-disclosure agreement. So basically, if you were in the Friends and Family, you couldn't tell anybody you were in the Friends and Family testing phase. Mm-hmm. It was supposed to remain private. I don't really know why they didn't do an NDA this time around. I mean, it really confused me. But yeah, in the past, they've always done Friends and Family prior to the closed beta, and it's also had an NDA on it every time.
Yeah, and again, as Kevin said, currently the Friends and Family that's taking place right now does not have an NDA. And if this is information that you are not privy to, that means there's Diablo 3 footage available on the net. There's streams going on Justin TV, on Twitch TV, on Owned as well, any of the streaming networks. And then there's also a handful of clips on YouTube. Actually, we haven't seen a ton of stuff And there's some decent quality footage. There is a lot of footage that unfortunately isn't of the highest quality, but that you can't certainly blame the people who are posting this content, because regardless, we're happy to see stuff getting posted. But yeah, typically in the past, it has been the case that the friends and family was under an NDA. It was something that was kind of kept hush hush, and it is interesting that they've done it a little bit different this time. And just to clarify for those people who may not be aware, Friends and Family is a program that they have set up there at Blizzard, where the Blizzard employees, I think they get a certain amount. I think it's like 3 or 5, or there's a certain amount of keys they get to give away to their literally friends and family. And also typically this is something that press cannot be involved in, because it's just meant for that specific pool of people.
Previously, it's and I guess as of right now also, it's kind of a conflict of interest, because I mean, yes, even though if you do have connections at Blizzard and you're in the friends and family, you may be tempted to leak something, which really wouldn't be good, and it kills the whole thing of friends and family, because I mean, with the NDA and their official fan sites don't want to risk anything. So I don't know, it's kind of iffy, which is why I'm a little bit confused as to why they did friends and family separate from the closed beta, with the press being in the closed beta this time around. Considering there's no NDA, there's no reason why anybody would have to be worried about being tempted about leaking anything, since again there's no NDA. I mean, everything is just free. You just post whatever you want, and then that's that. So
I think, I mean, with that said, that's definitely the case. If there's any bugs or any issues that are taking place right now that Blizzard doesn't maybe want to fully publicize, I guess people would say, like, I mean, you just said it. Well, it's being posted anyways because there's no NDA. But the big thing to realize that I think personally is, even though a lot of this content's getting a lot of hits, it pales in comparison to what's going to happen when big press sites and official sites start posting content, because that gets the most traffic, that gets the most viewership just inherently, given the sheer size, as opposed to some individual who just randomly posts something up, So I think that, any of the major bugs that they're still working out, while they could still be seen right now, given that people can still post stuff, I think it'd be much more detrimental if it was any of these huge sites. You know what I mean? That's not to say that like what you're saying is not true, because it definitely is. People are still posting stuff, so any bugs that are happening right now, people can see. But again, I just think it's to a lesser extent than what it would be otherwise. Say if I was posting this type of content and we were posting it, and you were posting the stuff on Diablo fans as well,
Yeah, I mean, I suppose that's definitely true. They don't really want people to see the unstable client, but I mean, we're already posting the streams and whatnot from all these other amateurs.
Completely negating everything that was just said.
Right, we're already posting it. Why not just make it? Well, I don't know. I was a little bit confuddled when I was when that came around. Yeah, whatever.
I don't think confuddled's a word.
I don't know. It's just like one of those you're so confused words. You don't know how confused you are, and you don't know what to call it.
F it, we'll do it live. So yeah, no, pretty cool. And actually, there's one more thing I do want to touch on about before we go into anything else about the friends and family that's currently taking place. That, as we said, the press isn't involved in, the media, influencers, and anything like that isn't involved in right now, or at least cannot post anything, whether or not we're in it or not. Something that I'm actually happy for is the fact that this has kind of given some of the smaller guys a chance to post some stuff and get a little notice. And I say this with 100% sincerity, because it was but a year ago that I just started my YouTube channel. 1 year ago. I started it, I believe, at the end of August, that I just started a YouTube channel, and then all of a sudden it kind of spiraled out of control and turned into my career, just like that. And I think that, being in the position where I'm not far removed from it, only a year ago I was just starting posting content on the internet, and to now be making a living off of it, I fully support anything that's going to help give a boost to kind of the smaller guy. And I don't know if you feel the same way, or Kevin. I mean, I'm sure you don't want to sound like a Grinch, but so maybe you'll agree.
You're making me look bad now if I say anything. If I disagree with you, I look like an idiot.
You look like a jerk. But no. But in all honesty, I'm being completely sincere. I think that's a really awesome part of this because, again, people who don't have these huge channels and aren't part of these huge websites have a chance to make some content and get some stuff out there. With that, though, I will say this. A lot of what's being posted is straight up content of gameplay, and that's fantastic, and a lot of people want to see that. But I'm going to say this, if anyone's listening and they're considering doing commentary, they're considering breaking onto the scene, they want to really start up a YouTube channel, you should really start posting content with your own commentary because gameplay is great and gameplay is going to get a lot of views right now, but people don't follow just the gameplay. People will not follow just gameplay forever. You have to bring your personality and you have to bring yourself into it. So this is a great opportunity for a lot of people, and I hope that they grasp it. I hope they take this time that they have and actually embrace it and try to get themselves out there. Because just posting gameplay, unfortunately, while it may get a lot of hits now, it's not going to do anything for you in the long run. But again, maybe people are just posting it for the crap of it and they just want to show stuff to the community, and that's fine too. But if you want to do commentary, if you want to start this YouTube thing, start talking.
And actually, off that note, just to branch off a little bit, I just noticed that Bashiok made a reply in the forums about what the difference between Friends and Family beta and the closed beta is, and basically he said it's the same thing content-wise. Everything's going up to the Skeleton King, or King Leoric, which we already knew, I guess some people weren't sure about.
Yeah.
And basically that is just the difference of the people who's invited, like I had said earlier in the thread for anybody that's listening. Basically, Friends and Family is just for Friends and Family of the Blizzard employees, like Dennis mentioned earlier, and that they have some rules in place to stop press from getting in because of, like we said, they don't really want to see that unstable client, or they don't want the public to see that and whatnot. Just some and I did want to clear this up anyway, that there were some cases the rules weren't followed and press had been allowed in. So for those of you wondering what the deal is with us and what the deal is with Day 9, because that causes even more confusion.
Right.
Day 9 had tweeted saying, yeah, I'm in the beta, and then like the next morning said, hey, I can't stream and everything, and then everybody just assumed that there was an NDA or there's a separate beta going on where we were able to test more, although I wish that was the case. That's not the case.
Yeah. It's
just that press and fan sites shouldn't really be allowed, or it would be against the rules to be allowed in the Friends and Family Alpha for the conflict of interest that Dennis and I were talking about earlier. And just that, I mean, we're going to have to wait a little bit before we can go ahead and publicize much of anything else. So.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the exciting thing is this could be potentially this evening, or it could be next week, next Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. I honestly don't expect it to be much longer than, I don't expect it to be as late as next Friday. It's possible, but that I would say is like the dead set latest, because we're really right on track. In fact, when they started the Friends and Family phase, the first sentence said we're really close to the closed beta.
Right.
That was the first sentence before they even mentioned Word. Before Bashiok even mentioned Word, the Friends and Family, the first sentence was, "Hey guys, we're super close to closed beta. We're starting Friends and Family now, so get ready," kind of thing. So. Cool stuff. So yeah, I mean, I know we kind of ran off into a tangent there, but I did want to touch on that momentarily, and I'll just say it one more time. If you're in it right now and you're getting that content up before anyone in the press can post anything, and you're interested in getting into the commentary scene, please take advantage of it right now. Don't just post the gameplay. But again, if you're just posting gameplay to show the community, then that's fantastic too, and we certainly appreciate it. So just touching on a few key points about the Friends and Family beta before we move on. There were several waves. In fact, they've been going out periodically throughout the week. So there's, they started off with a little bit, and then they invited more people in the Friends and Family program, and then more people as well. And as we just mentioned, the closed beta is right around the corner, and right now it's just kind of the waiting game. So anything else from you, Kevin, before we move on to the next topic?
Nope. I'm pretty sure that covers everything as far as beta being launched goes.
Yeah.
Although we could touch on the patch notes.
Sure.
That was the next topic.
Yeah, we can move into that next. Absolutely. So the next topic is going to be patch notes. We'll be discussing the fact that there was just recently a patch, and I can't even remember what the number was. It's some absurdity.
Yeah. Well, for all intents and purposes, we're calling it just patch 2.
There's a number to it.
Yeah, it's 7318, I believe.
There we go. So patch 2, Kevin, you want to let everyone know kind of what transpired with that patch, what the recent updates were?
Yeah. So and actually, before I get into it, basically there was a patch like patch 1 or patch 0 or whatever. Um, well, patch 0, I'm going to go ahead and say it was 7130 or 7168, and then patch 1 would have been 7170, except the beta client didn't actually get leaked until patch 7200. Actually, my bad. Those numbers are a bit off. 7200 would have been patch 1. The client was released at 7170, but nobody actually got the client until 7200 anyway. So it's like we don't know exactly what patch 1 contained. The first public patch that we are hearing of is the second beta patch, which
just came out last week. Was it Wednesday? Was it this Wednesday or?
Yes, it was the day after, so it was Wednesday. So that even though it says the second patch, it's the first patch for the public that the public knows about. Okay, so but just to keep on track and on schedule with Blizzard, we're just gonna, for all intents and purposes, we're gonna call this patch 2 and skip patch 1. So for the most part, it was just a bunch of bug fixes, like some stuff with the client, like breaking news was fixed, and some text and strings and whatnot were fixed. I noticed at the end of the very end of the patch notes, somebody doing this had a little bit of fun. Leia has received adequate weapons training and will now properly fire arrows from her bow during the scene rather than firing from her.
She was a little sloppy before, but now we're all set. We're ready to rock. So
yeah, so I mean, essentially, the majority of this patch was bug fixes. Although there was a user interface improvement change kind of a thing for the skills UI, which I actually really did like, and I don't know if you can bring that up, Dennis.
Oh, absolutely, you got it. So first, we're going to show the old skill UI. This is the one that was in place before the patch.
Okay, so yeah. So I really like that that the new how the new UI does it, because in the old one you basically had to just scroll through in order to see any and all of your skills. I like that the new one just uses the icons and also shows you what levels you'll potentially be unlocking them. And not only that, but it also sorts them into what kind of how Blizzard considers that spell to be used. Now,
Right.
Granted, this is probably going to change when you start using runes and whatnot.
And that's actually very interesting. And as you were spitting out the sentence, I just thought of it, because these offensive spells that we're looking at here for the wizard can become defensive depending on the rune. I wonder, with that said, if there will be additional tabs added whenever you rune something. That seems highly unlikely, but that's a very good point.
So I mean, it's interesting to see what Blizzard plans on doing with that. But again, this is just a brand new UI change, and I guarantee that the UI is going to change 10 more times at least before we get into even the release of the game. And even then, it's going to change after the game's released. For a perfect example, StarCraft 2. The Battle.net interface has changed so many times. They've added a bunch of panels and whatnot to the interface for observers and replays and whatever. I know we don't really have that right now in Diablo 3. But that's not my point. My point is that it's going through many iterations even after release. Blizzard just wants to fine-tune this stuff and make sure it looks great, feels great, and just matches with the whole Diablo environment.
Yeah, and I mean that's pretty cool. I'm actually really glad you brought that up, because they are absolutely 100% going to have to alter this when runes come into play. I mean, there's no questions asked. Offensive spells will become defensive or rapid cast depending on what rune you put in them. I mean, these things. This is the whole. This is the whole entire point of the rune system, is to completely change the functionality of skills by placing runes into them. And I think that especially people who are maybe new to the Diablo franchise, haven't been following for a long time, are just getting into it now that the beta has kind of just started recently, that they're not even going to see much about the rune system until the game's released, because it's not going to be in the beta. From what we know, the runes become available in Act 2 in the game, and the beta only goes up to about like a third of Act 1. So,
Yep, that's completely correct. And I mean, just as an example as to what it is that we're talking about, I don't remember which armor spell it was, but for the wizard specifically, Jay Wilson was showing off a melee mage kind of a class, and what runes he used and what skills and whatnot. And one of the several different armor skills, what is it? Energy armor, storm armor, and there's one more, ice armor. When you rune one of them with a particular rune, it instead of changing it from armor, it kind of makes like an orb spin around you, that if anybody comes close to you, it does like an AoE kind of a damage around you. At least I believe that's how it functioned as of the press event. It could be completely changed as of right now. But the point is that now that it's not really a defensive spell, now it's more of an offensive AoE kind of a thing, like Blaze from Diablo 2. You cast it and it basically shoots fire out of your ass, and you just run around and just drop fire all over the ground. So I mean, I mean, I wouldn't really call it defensive, although yes, you could use it defensively, but it's more of an offensive skill. Like, okay, let's charge.
Yeah, no, and it's pretty cool. And again, with that said, they're gonna have to make some changes. I mean, they have to. They absolutely 100% have to for that very reason. So I think the other thing too that I wanted to show to everybody, besides that change, was the change in the login screen. The login screen used to be the backdrop. Was it Cauldron? Was that what it was?
Correct.
Prior?
Yep, it was Cauldron.
Yeah.
Actually, some people have been saying it's potentially Yura, which was one of the canceled, one of the canceled cities that were supposed to make it in the game. Blizzard said that they're going to be revisiting for the expansion, or I guess could potentially be revisiting for the expansion, which we know that it was confirmed by the Activision Blizzard guys. So I mean, I want to say it was Chaldean, but it could have potentially been Yura, and they're just going to be using that for the expansion login screen whenever that comes around.
That's really funny that we got a sneak peek for it.
Yeah, so I mean, we're gonna have to wait and see on that. But yes, go on.
Yeah, so now the new backdrop, the difference obviously it's kind of day and night in terms of, well, it's literally the difference between day and night. The last backdrop was daytime. This is a much darker feel. Also, this one's a little more animated. We've got some glow to the moon, some glow to the house in the background. I guarantee that's a specific location. I just can't think of it right now. And then we got a little fog kind of rolling in on the side. Now, whether or not this is going to be what they actually use for the release of the game, really no way to know, but at least we got some nice visual change with that last patch as well. So that was pretty cool.
I mean, I want to say that that's supposed to be New Tristram. It's the same thing that we see in the character login screen on Diablo3.com or the old Diablo3.com when we were checking out the different character classes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it makes sense that if that was Yura, they would be saving that in New Tristram, seeing as this is where we start out, New Tristram in Diablo 3. It's kind of just where the game begins taking place. So I mean, like it's a logical change. It also looks pretty sweet.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Pretty awesome stuff. All right, so that's pretty much going to do it for most of our beta discussion. Now we're going to touch on one more thing about it, and that's just going to be specifically the music in the game. The music, not just the beta, but this is obviously going to be the music that they will be using during release. As always, people complain, and there have been some complaints about the music. People saying, they don't like the backdrop ambience type music that they've been hearing in streams or on videos through the Friends and Family beta. People have been showing stuff, and again, just complaints about the music itself. And there have been some responses from Bashiok, basically just stating the fact that, well, where have you been? Because this is kind of the general theme of the Diablo world in general. That backdrop, ambiance, dark music is what it's about, as opposed to, he compared it to everyone's favorite game, World of Warcraft, and how the music in that game is kind of huge, epic, orchestrated pieces, whereas Diablo, again, is the subtle and moody backdrop type of music. Now, Kevin, I'm assuming that you've watched some of the streams and the videos and stuff, and I'm assuming you've heard some of the tracks. I know that we got actually a lot of that stuff leaked out as well, a lot of the Act 1 music. What's your personal take on the music? I mean, do you agree? Do you feel like it's too far in the background? There's too much ambiance to it? Would you like it a little more in your face, or how do you feel about it?
I'm gonna be completely honest. When we played the press event, when we played the demo build of the press event, and from checking out the streams and whatnot, I haven't even really noticed it. But I can't tell if I haven't noticed it just because it completely, it works great with the feeling of Diablo. It just puts me in that Diablo zone, and I'm just like tuned out to everything else. I can't tell if it's just because I'm in that zone, or if I just don't notice it. Like, I know that's horrible and it doesn't really do much good for discussion, but I mean, I don't know. Well, I can't tell if it complements the game great or if it's just too subtle.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this: there have been a fair amount of streams and videos, and the ones that I have been watching, I try to stick to 1080p because anything else, my eyes start to bleed. But the ones that I have been watching, I haven't noticed the music in the background, and I've listened for it as well. Now, this could certainly be the case where the settings are just dulled all the way down. Some people don't like music. Some people listen to their own music while they play games, and that's perfectly acceptable as well. When I'm in an intense, hardcore PvP type of game, I usually listen to music that suits that as well. But definitely with a game like this, I like the dark, moody music. I absolutely love it. And I don't know. I'm pretty content with what we have right now. Now, Kevin not noticing it isn't so much necessarily because it's too ambient, but maybe just because again you were focused, you were honed in. So
Right, exactly. So I mean, it might be too subtle. I mean, it could be a good thing. It could be a bad thing. It might be so great that it just meshes perfectly with the gameplay, and I just don't notice it, or it's just too subtle to the point where I just really don't notice it.
yeah, I mean, if people want it less subtle too, they can just down every other volume in the game and crank up the music.
Yeah,
So that's all they hear. Although that's obviously not what they're talking about. They're not referring to the loudness of the music. They're just referring to the style of music. Now, Bashok did also mention, and you guys can see right here in the blue post, that they do have kind of the more intense music scores that do come through during some boss fights and stuff like that. But he mentioned it doesn't really make much sense, when you're going through a graveyard to have this crazy in-your-face music because it doesn't really fit the mood of the game. So
Right.
So yeah, there you go. I would love to know what you guys think about the music. Go ahead and leave your comments and thoughts and opinions in the chat box on the side. And yeah, pretty interesting stuff. I don't know. I like it. I don't think it's that bad. I think people just love to complain, to be perfectly honest. But this is nothing that is new.
And actually, before we start wrapping up the beta stuff, it seems like Blizzard threw up minimum and recommended system requirements on their support site.
Right.
So, and we put up a post on that on Diablo Fans, so you guys can just check out the link. I don't know if Dennis is going to show it off right now.
We'll throw it up right here. So yeah, this is going to be the minimum specifications as well as the recommended.
Yep, and I mean it's really not much to talk about here, other than here it is. But I mean it looks like you kind of need a pretty beefy computer. I mean the minimum is pretty high. I mean the video.
You think so? Yeah.
GeForce. Oh, I mean I don't know. Most people don't really just have a 7800 GeForce or
Yeah.
I guess I don't really know much about Radeons, like how they compare up to the GeForce and whatnot. I've been following NVIDIA for a while, but I mean, like most stock computers, I mean, let's say I just got a computer 2-3 years ago. I mean, it's not that old, but it may only have whatever in GeForce 5500 for I don't know. I got my computer 2008, 3 years. I've only got a GeForce 5500.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, obviously, you're not just gonna be. You're gonna be. I'm sure you'll be able to play the game still because it supports Windows XP and DirectX 9. You're just not gonna be able to play it with that great of settings.
Yeah, and actually, I haven't really done too much research on it, but I have read a lot of complaints on the forums, just like browsing through really quick. People saying that they've been running into issues because of their video card, and also actually I've heard some issues with the operating system as well.
Yeah, I noticed that some problems with Windows XP.
Yeah, and it's funny because you did just mention XP, and I was just thinking I've seen a couple complaints about people saying it's not working for them properly. Now I'm certain there's pretty easy fixes, and I'm certain, albeit if you have to replace the hardware, that sucks. That certainly shouldn't be necessary, though. I'm pretty sure that XP should still work, but if I'm 100% wrong, don't you don't have to say I told you so, because I'm putting it out on the table right now. I have not done any research into this. I myself am not really worried about it. I just built a new computer last year. Unfortunately, though, some people will get left out. This is welcome to PC gaming. That's kind of what it is. This is the one thing, and actually this is why some people, there's a big draw towards console gaming as opposed to PC gaming. Because you do have to upgrade a lot in PC gaming. And even we're looking at Blizzard, the company that is known for letting the crappiest of the crappy computers run their games. And that's, business-wise makes sense because they've got a lot larger client base with something like that. But yeah, even with Blizzard making the game and being able to run on fairly low-end computers, in PC gaming you have to upgrade every few years. It's just kind of how it works generally, so... Yeah, I mean, luckily Diablo might be coming to console soon. You can give that a shot. And again, it's not to be insensitive. It's just stating, this is what PC gaming is. You have to get upgrades. You will fall behind if you don't after a certain period of time. So yeah, Kevin has nothing to say on that, so we'll move on to the next topic.
Like I said, it's just one of those things like, hey, looky what we found, as opposed to like, major discussion topic.
Right. Okay, so the next major thing that we're going to be discussing is a recent post from Blizzard. They posted up some discussion about the Nephilim cube and the Cauldron of Jordan. And I'm going to actually go out on a limb here and say that this is something that even maybe some followers of the game weren't 100% aware of. We saw this for the first time during the press event that we went to not too long ago, about a little over a month ago, I believe. And getting the first look at the beta, we saw the Nephilim cube and we saw the Cauldron of Jordan, and some pretty awesome stuff. And if you don't know much about it, or if you needed a little more detail, this article would be pretty good. But Kevin, why don't you just go ahead and give a basic recap of the two things and how they function?
So essentially, the Cauldron of Jordan is replacing the Scroll of Wealth that used to be in the game. Scroll of Wealth was temporary, obviously. It's just a scroll. It's a one-use kind of a thing, just has one charge. The Cauldron of Jordan is now a quest item that permanently sticks with you. So think of a Herodra Cube type thing, not exactly the same style, though. Cauldron of Jordan lets you sell items from anywhere in the game, which is exactly what the Scroll of Wealth does, or it did, as I said. And on that same note, we also have the Nephilim Cube. Now, the Nephilim Cube works similar to the Cauldron of Jordan, where you just use one item, or you can use it to do something to one item, where it functions the same. You just throw an item right on top of it. However, the Nephilim Cube, instead of selling your item and giving you a gold value, and I guess I should mention that you get 100% gold back for Cauldron of Jordan. You don't get docked, or you don't lose out on any potential gold you could be making by running the town. There's just no difference.
Is it 100% really?
Yeah, I actually asked at the press event.
Wow.
So the Nephilim Cube lets you salvage items, and then salvaging the items throws like scraps and whatever materials into your inventory that does stack, so that way you don't have to worry about wasting up too much space or taking up too much space. And then these salvaged items are used for crafting for the artisans, which I know we've talked a lot about in the past. I know we did a whole podcast on artisans and whatnot, several of them. So yeah. And actually, I'm not seeing this here, but I suppose it's worth mentioning, was the Stone of Recall. And I don't know if Blizzard doesn't have it here because they took it out, or if they don't have it here because they just doesn't fit the style of the article they were writing. I don't really know, but the Stone of Recall was essentially a Hearthstone. Sorry to relate it to World of Warcraft, but it was a Hearthstone.
Yeah. Well, we can call it a permanent scroll town portal tome or something.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Just to make it put it in the Diablo universe where it belongs,
Yeah, so it's a personal town portal.
There you go. Very nice.
So you can't throw up a town portal for somebody else, but you can return back to town. But on that same note, somebody could just click on your banner and be transported right to you.
Yeah.
Wonder how that works. Transported. So, like, where did they come up with the technology to just transport people?
Kevin, you are a weirdo. So pretty cool stuff. Again, if this is stuff that you hadn't heard much about in the past for one reason or another, go ahead and take a look at the article. It's right on the right on the Diablo 3 community page. And yeah, I guess that's pretty much it for major topics this week, Kevin. I don't think we have anything else, do we?
Doesn't seem like it.
All right, so then we're going to go ahead and grab the poll. Now I'll go ahead and recap the poll from last week, and then Kevin will be giving you the poll for this week. So for last week's poll, we asked you guys... What did we ask you guys? What was your favorite resource? We wanted to know what resource you enjoyed the most. We had the update to the resource page, on the community page, just giving us a basic rundown of all of them. And I'm interested to know if people picked their favorite resource or if they just picked the resource that was related to their favorite class.
That's possible too.
But people saying that they like the arcane power the most. And arcane power, I mean, we could more or less call that fast regenerating mana type of source. That's more or less what the arcane power is. It's also a lot like energy, like the rogue's energy. But yeah, so there's arcane power that came out number 1 with 34% of the votes, and then second place with 23% of the votes was Fury, and then almost a dead even tie there between Spirit and Hatred, 128 to 127. It was 16 to 15% of the votes, and then lastly, mana. People are tired of mana. We've seen enough mana in every single RPG we've ever played. In fact, there's been a cry for a change. For the name, at the least, we want to call it Mojo, don't we?
Yeah, actually, I think that's pretty sweet. And actually, I had posted up like a mock-up, and we've got an article coming out tomorrow, I believe, on the recent discussions about the resource globes and whatnot, where you can check out the mock-up image that we had made. It's like a green swirly ball instead of the blue, and basically we want to call it either Mojo or Voodoo. And I mean, we really, as a community, haven't figured out what kind of mechanic or actual system it should use. Just something different than mana is what we're definitely shooting for.
Yeah. And that's
and I say we because as a community we've been talking about it. Somebody else brought this up, and somebody had messaged me the mock-up, and I just publicized everything.
Yeah, I like that. I like Mojo. I think that sounds cool. Reminds me a heck of a lot of Austin Powers, but that's fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
Lost the mojo.
It's a good movie. All right, so why don't you give him this week's poll, Kevin?
Right. So for this week, because the friends and family testing had begun, and the closed beta should hopefully be following up pretty shortly.
Like in an hour or so, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. But we want to know what kind of content you guys are looking forward to seeing the most. Because, I mean, while we're going to be producing a lot of content, covering lots of good stuff, we just want to make sure that we're getting through the stuff that you guys want to see first. Because, I mean, if you guys don't want to see this stuff, what good are we, right? So, the options are class playthroughs, system overviews, commentary and playthrough experiences, co-op, videos and articles, or something else other. So if you have some other idea that we didn't list there or didn't think of, let us know, because I mean we're gonna have a lot of work to do, but we definitely want to produce a lot.
Yeah,
lots of good stuff.
That's the plan. That's the plan. So yeah, so go ahead and let us know, guys. Head on over to DiabloFans.com, cast your vote. You got to log into your account first, and let us know what type of content that you'd prefer to see. And typically, we just run right into the user questions and then wrap it up. I do want to take a moment, though, on the topic here, because I think this is the perfect time for just a little bit of information to the community. I want to let people know, what our plans are. As Kevin just said, we've got a lot of plans. I know you're excited, Kevin. I'm thrilled.
Definitely.
I can't wait to.
I'm pumped.
I can't wait to, as weird as it sounds, I can't wait to start working. I can't wait to start working on the content, though, because it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. It is a lot of work, and it, besides, we sit down, we play the games, but there's a lot of pre and post publishing that goes into making these videos and all this recording and everything. But the point is that I'm really looking forward to it, and we're going to be going in head first as soon as the press get the green light, basically, to start posting content. We're going in head first. So the plans right now, what we're basically looking to do, we're going to be doing full playthroughs. I know we're going to be doing full playthroughs of all of the classes. I'm starting off with the Barbarian. Kevin, which class did you decide to start off with?
I'm going to be doing the Wizard, and then following up with the Demon Hunter. The Monk, and Tyler Cyber Dragon is going to be doing the Witch Doctor, and then following up with the Demon Hunter.
Yeah,
I believe that's the order he wants to do.
Yeah, so we'll have that. We'll have full playthroughs of the beta for all the classes, and then also we were thinking about doing one for each sex, because I know some people, even if it's just the attack animations, some people like to see kind of the different variants.
And don't forget, I mean, not only the animations, but also all the graphics and art. For the items and whatnot, they look different on the character also.
Yeah, absolutely. So full playthroughs, all the classes, each sex. We'll be doing that. In addition to that, we'll probably be doing kind of, skill-focused videos as well, taking a look at a skill, kind of explaining how it works, talking about scaling, stuff like that, and then just showing some gameplay of that as well. We're obviously going to be doing some coverage of the artisans now. At the moment, with the beta content, we'll just have access to the blacksmith, but we'll be talking about it, showing you guys patterns, talking about the crafting materials necessary for everything, stuff like that. We'll also do just some of the small things, like maybe a video talking about the follower that you encounter, which is going to be the Templar. It's the first follower that we'll be picking up. Yep. And then I also thought, doing some maybe like mini boss videos as well, because there'll be various mini bosses, and just kind of highlighting those. I thought that'd be neat. I thought were you about to say something, Kevin?
Sorry, I've been looking at questions and whatnot. Other than the Templar, there's also the Artisan. Yeah, you actually did say this. The Blacksmith is the only one we're going to see in the beta. I just wanted to throw it out there.
Okay, you can keep reading your questions.
I'm
just going to cover up the rest of what we plan to cover, and then we'll go ahead and pick up a couple user questions.
Good deal.
So all those playthroughs, also going to be doing obviously some playthroughs with some narration. I know you guys enjoy kind of a let's play type style playthrough, so we plan to do some of that. We'll be doing some co-op playthroughs as well with all different class combinations. If you want to see how a wizard and a barbarian play together, we'll be doing that. And if you want to see how a demon hunter and a monk and a barbarian play together, we'll be doing that. We plan to, if possible, go through all the combinations for the co-op play, and want to post all of that up. Again, full playthroughs. Like I said, the mini boss videos, I think that would be cool. We'll run into those randomly. The mini boss, things aren't set since the game is randomized for a good portion of it. We'll run into some various mini bosses, so we'll go ahead and post up that content as well. And then I also wanted to, once it becomes available, we are expecting the auction house to get patched in. Just have some discussion about that. In fact, I know, Kevin, we have planned to have some special guests on who work in trading in the real world, stock market trading.
Yeah,
and we'll be
I'm actually
talking
really
about the
excited
auction
for
house
that.
because those two things will relate. So
I'm actually really excited for that. I mean, I do want to treat the auction house as a separate game than Diablo as a whole. I mean, I kind of consider it to be PvP, PvE, and then trading. I think that's it's cool because yes, you can trade just to get a couple better items for yourself, but you can also play that game, play the auction house game, make money off of it, make yourself a name. I don't know. It just seems like it's a cool idea. It seems just like running and playing the stock market in real life. So
sure, yeah. Yeah, that's definitely going to be exciting as well. And then lastly, and these are just some random ideas that I've been thinking up as we've been preparing for the beta. I have some plans for an interactive Diablo 3 beta video, and it's gonna be pretty interesting. Will be tricky to pull off, but I have some pretty good ideas, so we'll have to see how that one goes. I hope it doesn't just fall through because I think it's going to be phenomenal. But we'll leave it at that. I don't want to foray into it too much further. So, Kevin, I know you said you were looking at some questions. Without going verbatim, do you have some general topic areas that people have been wondering about?
I saw one from Batmon. He's basically wanting to know, seems like a wall of text question. Sorry, I didn't get a chance to read the entire thing, but I did see the first sentence, and he asked about the killing spree bonus of or experience effects and whatnot. So I believe what Blizzard's calling them is callouts or shoutouts. I think it's called callouts. You know what I'm talking about? It's the things where it's like, okay, you survived with 0.1% health, or killing spree where you get 10 kills at a time and you set a new record and whatnot. I think they look pretty sweet from what I've seen so far. I remember during the PvP build that they had some pretty cool ones, like I just mentioned, surviving with 0.1% health remaining. There were the ones where you get the killing spree, like I said before. You kill a record amount of monsters. And I mean, I don't really know any of the other ones specifically. I know that they've come out somehow. But I don't quite remember them off the top of my head right now. For those of you wondering, it's kind of like an achievement kind of a thing system. So it's like a mini achievement system. Yes, Diablo 3 is going to have an achievement system where it's going to be tracking, how many. I'm assuming it's going to track how many monsters you've killed and how much gold you've picked up, just like World of Warcraft does. But also, like while you're playing through the game, if you do cool things like kill 10 monsters at a time with one spell, you get like an XP bonus. You get +1 XP, which isn't that much, yeah. But the point is, it shows up on your screen. It says, new record, killing spree, +1 XP, and like 13 monsters or something along those lines. It's a cool little thing to see while you're playing through the game. I mean, it's just fun and interesting.
Yeah.
Anything to add, Dennis?
No,
No?
not really. I mean, I think you pretty much covered it. I think that's going to be awesome. I'm interested also to see, with stuff like that. I know that there's bonus XP awarded to it, but it'll be pretty cool to see. Achievements as well. Although typically I don't really care too much about achievements at all. It's a nice little, you get a little the little toast that pops up and lets you know, hey, congratulations, you set a record from your crappy self to a little bit better of how you used to be.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
I got another question here from Todd. Wants to know if every skill will scale with level, or if they'll just scale with every few levels. As far as the press event goes, I know that every skill scales with level except for a few, I believe, and I don't remember if I'm getting this mixed up, but skills like Bash will still scale with weapon damage, I believe. I don't know if you remember, Dennis, but like for the most part, most of the skills will scale with your level. I didn't play a barbarian enough to check out Bash.
Yeah, no. Some of them are based off of weapon damage, and those will obviously scale whenever you improve your weapon. Other than that, yes, with level, but the primary reason is because of your attributes increase. So.
Oh, true.
Your attributes increase when you level, so obviously your spells scale up, and then you get better gear, and that's going to scale up. Essentially, how it works too is you'll see what is scalable because the text is different. I believe it was a green color.
Yeah. So the actual text for the effect or the ability of the skill is shown in white, and then the part that actually scales is displayed in green.
Yeah.
So they're not. So it's not like something that they're trying to hide. You can definitely see what it is that'll scale. So if you just keep track of it every time you level up, I mean, it's definitely there. And something I am kind of curious about is I don't know. I'd love to see the formula for how attributes and stats are placed per level and how that affects each class's skills. Because I mean, I would love to see, how much percentage or how many points my damage goes up when I use disintegrate at level 20 or level 30.
Yeah.
And I've just thrown it out there. I don't know if I have disintegrate at level 20 or whatever.
Well, that's currently in the current build you do. I believe it was unlocked at either 12 or 13 because I've seen some videos of Wizard with disintegrate. But that kind of in-depth look at the gameplay systems is obviously something that it's coming at release. Really can't.
Yep.
Even if people do it in the beta, those numbers are liable to change. So it would kind of be, except for getting the basis down, it would kind of be a whole lot of work for nothing because things will change between now and the actual release. But yeah, it'll be awesome once we have those systems up in place and the game's out. It'll be pretty cool to see that kind of information out on the web. And that's it. That is the kind of thing that you're going to need to look out for. You're going to have to go out basically to outside sources besides actually physically being in the game just to see, how things do scale if that's something you're actually interested in. So
Yeah, definitely. I don't know if you have any questions, but I've got another one from Marcus here. Wants to know if the artisans are shared in co-op, like basically the host of the game, if his artisan is shared for the rest of the party. And the answer to that is no. At least as of right now, it's no. And actually, artisans, as of right now, are also not shared for all your own characters, which, I don't know. That's a whole other argument and discussion itself. I kind of believe that artisans should really just be account-wide instead of character-specific. I mean, that's just because if I max out all my artisans in every possible path on my main character, then I don't have any reason to do it on any other character
you can just trade, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I could just throw it in my personal or my shared stash, and boom, now I've got everything from my other characters.
Yeah, and actually, it would be the case, if artisan gear was bound to the character that created it, then that wouldn't be true. But it isn't.
There were no bindings.
Exactly. So it's pretty. That's pretty interesting. Yeah. I mean, I guess as you said, it might as well be account wide because there is no. What's the point in leveling an artisan on a second character if it's maxed out on another one? Because as you said, you can just put it in your shared stash, and there you go.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
So there you go. All right. Well, I think that's actually going to it's going to wrap up this DiabloCast. Was very from the hip. This was definitely full on live, more than normal. Just because I don't know, we didn't prep at all for this. It's all right though. Not a problem. It was fun. Hopefully you guys did enjoy it. As always, stay tuned next Friday for another episode of DiabloCast. By then, we do expect to have the press embargo lifted, and that means that we will be in the throngs of posting lots of content. And hopefully tonight, my fingers are still crossed, my hopes are still high that the beta will begin tonight. Although if it didn't happen, I wouldn't be all that surprised. But maybe early next week as well. The waiting game, it's so rough. But again, we are in the Friends and Family, so feel free to check out some content on YouTube, check out streams, and get ready for some of our stuff as well. Going to be top-notch, certainly going to be very exciting. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. This has been Dennis, and for Kevin, we will see you guys next time.
All right, take it easy, everybody.
All right. Good job, Kevin.
Thanks, Dennis. I try. That was an interesting podcast.
Ever.
Oh, man. It's a shame we're not in the beta yet. Such a shame.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.